If you had to have only one soup this festive period, make sure you make this particular one. Now here is me infusing a forever vibe in Eddie Kong recipe. Don't worry, be calming down. This is lavishly, deliciously Nigerian. This soup shows all the affluence of the Nigerian ingredients, and I'm here to flaunt that in this recipe. Every single thing you see here was shot by Price Pally, so make sure to reach out to them with the voucher code OMOYOCOOKS to get your discounts. Now let's get right into the introductions, guys. Now pay attention in this recipe. We're going to be making my favorite native spice, so guys, make sure you pay attention. Here is my ugu leaves. You can use kale. Here is also water leaf, guys, so you can decide to use only kale all through if you're outside Nigeria. Okay, now here we have our onions. I have my mix of peppers. I have my scotch bonnet for heat, right, and I also have my red bell peppers, which is our Tatashe. I have my Maggi seasoning cube here. I have my beef. I have my crabs. I have my cow skin, aka ponmo. I have my shrimps, guys. Are you seeing the lineup? I also have this authentic palm oil, and then I have locust beans, aka rodo. This is a major flavor enhancer. I have smoked catfish. I also have my dried chili pepper. I have some uziza seeds. I have some dried prawns, and guys, let's get right into it. Now the first thing is what takes the longest to get cooked, which is our proteins. Not just any protein, the beef and the ponmo is going to go into the pot. I'm adding some scotch bonnet, I'm adding some onions and some seasoning cube, and as always you're going to boil this first until the juice is released from the beef, and then you can add more water and make sure it is cooked till soft. Now let's make my native secret spice. Now this is just a few of the ingredients, but this is so good. First off, you have your catfish. Now the smoked catfish is sand free. Look through, this particular one is sand free. There is no dirt, there is no sand, because you want to blend this dry. Okay, now you're going to make that go into your blender. I'm just trying to break it to show you how crispy and how well dried it is. You don't want moisture in this. Okay, now I'm going to add my dried chili. I'm also going to be adding my uziza seeds. I'm smiling as I'm saying this because this is so good. And then the dried prawn is going to go in. Again, this dried prawn was shot by Price Pally and it has no dirt on it, so you really want to get it from a good source. Otherwise, what you want to do is to wash that, which I also do. I wash that, I rinse, and then I dehydrate in my air fryer oven until it is dried again to get all the moisture out. The last thing I added was crayfish. It's already blended, but I wanted to also add that because that's what makes up my secret spice. Okay, now you're going to blend that until it is smooth. I'm going to use that mallet to break it down into my blender, and I trust my blender to actually break it down. If you don't have a high performing blender like this, you want to make sure to actually use a food processor to first break it down and then transfer it into your blender and then blend everything until it is smooth. This is exactly what you want to get. This powdery form of native secret spice is a game changer in your soups. Now let's set that aside and let's check on our meats. By now our meat should be good and ready. I'm just going to take a look at that, and what we're going to be doing here is to dice the beef and the cow skin, which is the pommel, into smaller bits so it can give that eforiro vibe. But remember, we are not making eforiro. Now I'm going to heat up my pot. I'm going to pour in my palm oil. Now make sure to use little, and then you can top up as you go. Okay, I'm going to fry that locust beans in that oil first because I want it to release that lovely flavor and fragrance first into that oil. This is our own African umami. This is so good. Next up, I'm adding that lovely blend that we just did, guys. You want to fry that in that oil on low heat, and guys, the aroma that will begin to hit your nose, chai. This is a legit game changer, and I need you guys to try it out. Okay, you're going to fry that for about 4 minutes on low heat, and once you have it looking like this, you don't want it brown and crispy, but you want the flavors to come out, so 4 minutes on low heat is fine. Now our pepper mix is going in. Now I already showed you the pepper mix combination. It is tatashe, your rodo, and onions. That's all that we have here. right? Now what you have in terms of percentage is you have 70% of Tatashe, 20% of onions, and 10% of your scotch bonnet, which is for your heat. That's the pepper combination for this, right? Now you're going to allow that to fry in that lovely sauce that you've already started building. You remember your eran have already gone in, and our native secret spice has also been frying. You're going to allow this again to fry until the oil floats. You can just quickly pause here and take a rewind to see the difference between before and after, right? You want your oil to be floating at the top before you proceed to the next stage, because again it tells you that your sauce is getting well cooked. Now I'm adding my crabs into that. Crabs do not take too long to get ready, but however I wanted it to be infused into that sauce, which is why I'm adding it right now. Okay, so I'm just stirring that together, and then the crabs are in, and then all of that juice is soaking into that crab. And at this point I'm now going to add my beef stock. I'm using a sieve deliberately for this purpose because I don't want some of that bits and pieces to go in. I just want everything to just be seamless and beautiful. So I'm going to be taking this out, and now the beef can come in. Again, all my proteins are going to be coming in. At least 90% will be going in now into that sauce, because you want to build the most delicious sauce, and you also want your proteins to soak in that sauce, that anybody who takes a bite can already taste all the flavors that you've been building. You don't want your proteins standing out from the sauce. Okay, that is why I'm adding everything now. You're going to allow that to cook for about 10 minutes to 15 minutes. Add your seasoning cube, but make sure you taste first. Remember, we added stock. I had already tasted and realized I needed a little bit more beef stock, so I added some seasoning cube. Remember that your seasoning cube already has salt, so if you're going to add salt, please taste and be sure, right? Now water leaves are going to go in because it takes longer to cook than our regular ugu leaves or pumpkin leaf as we call it. Now water leaf again is going to infuse its own juice into that soup, so you don't want to start adding too much water because a lot of the ingredients is already going to add some moisture to that soup. Now I'm stirring my water leaf together. I'm going to allow that steam for about 2 to 3 minutes, and look at that, literally water has doubled in that pot of soup. Now our ugu leaf is going to go in. If you don't have access to ugu leaf where you are, kale is a very good option that you can use. It also works fine. And if you decide that, you know what, you don't want to go with this method, you want to use your regular shoko leaves and make a roll, this again is the recipe you want to do. Infusing beef and seafood is just a delicious broth. It's a delicious flavor. Now I'm adding that shrimp at the final stage because shrimp takes less than 5 minutes to cook, and you also want your leaves to be crunchy, right? So that's why I'm adding it at this point. I also added again the native secret spice just to top it off and make it look so good. I'm stirring this together. I'm going to allow that to cook on low heat for another 2 minutes. Now this pot has an induction plate at the bottom, meaning that it retains heat. So even when I turn up the heat, it will still be cooking because it has absorbed some of that heat from the gas cooker. And that is why I'll be turning off the heat now. Okay, and that shrimp is still going to cook well, right? It's not going to taste rubbery, it's going to taste so good. And guys, our lavishly deliciously Nigerian soup is ready. As far as I know, the only valid thing to have this with is smoky hot pounded yam, and that's exactly what I'm having it with. See you in my next video.